Today we're going to recompare the Bugaboo Fox and the Uppababy Vista V2 in order to give proper due to the updates made with the shift to the Fox 5 and to make sure our take on the differences between these models is up to date, since in our opinion, they're really two of the best terrain-capable, high-luxury, and of course high-price strollers available currently. So let's jump right into it then, beginning with the Fox 5, where the model weighs in at between 10.4 and 12.2 kilos, depending on whether it's configured with the seat or bassinet, and folds down to 44 by 60 by 90 centimeters as a single piece. It can take 22 kilos in the seat and 10 kilos in the underslung shopping basket. When it comes to child comfort, both of these models come with both the seat and bassinet included, though in the case of the Fox, they share a single frame, which means a little bit of fiddling to switch between elements. As far as the seat is concerned, the Fox 5 seat has an inside width of 36 centimeters and a total length of 104 in its longest configuration, measured by adding up the lengths of the backboard, baseboard, leg rest, and space beneath the canopy. The textiles have a high-quality, luxurious feel. The canopy is extendable and provides excellent sun coverage, and the harness is easy to use, expandable, and set up in such a way that the belts hold themselves out from the seat back so that you don't have to fumble for straps under your kid. Moving on to parent comfort, the Fox 5's handle is adjustable between 92 and 108 centimeters, and the model has a decently accessible shopping basket that's a tad larger than with previous iterations. The model folds down via a one-handed folding process and can be folded down to a single, standing piece with either the seat or bassinet, and can also be unfolded without bending down or needing to fiddle with triggers or locking flaps. When it comes to how the model feels to use, the Fox 5 has a strong, substantial feel with well-fitted elements that aren't noisy or loose, and the use of lighter weight components, in particular the plastic joints, and the suspension built into the central bar, give the model a slightly lighter and springy feel for the size. When it comes to longevity, the change in the Fox's folding system, which has removed the key weakness of previous models, being an overcomplexity of small components in the central bar, has greatly improved the longevity of the model. And when you add to this the fact that no other elements on the Fox have really shown themselves to be problematic over the years, that there's always a good degree of backwards compatibility with the chassis components that Bugaboo keeps available should something go wrong, and an increasing of the guarantee to 4 years, there's a good chance that the Fox 5 will hold up quite well down the road. That being said, however, this is the first time that Bugaboo has used this sort of a folding system, so there is still a possibility that unseen issues may eventually become apparent. As far as driving performance goes, the Fox 5 excels at tackling both rougher conditions like cobblestones, gravel, and even smoother forest trails, while simultaneously is also quite light to maneuver on smoother terrain as well, thanks in particular to raised ridges on the model's wheels and a clever overall angling of the chassis that allows the model to be quite light to maneuver even with one hand. Shock absorption is spread across the model, where the main suspension is in the central bar, which is then aided by additional suspension lower down, the choice of tires, and the ability of its many strong plastic joints to flex as they absorb jolts from bumpy ground. Alright, let's move on to the Vista V2 then, which weighs in at a heavier 12.4 kilos with the seat, or just over 13 with the bassinet, and folds down to a slightly wider, but also shorter, 44 by 65 by 84.5 centimeters with the seat attached. Like the Fox, it can carry 22 kilos in the seat, but has a slightly higher weight capacity of 13.6 in the underslung shopping basket. When it comes to child comfort, the seat and bassinet are entirely different elements with the Vista V2, allowing one to avoid the assembly needed with the Fox. Looking at seat size, the Vista V2 has a slightly narrower seat frame, 32 versus 36 centimeters, but has an identical total length of 104 centimeters, which can be made longer by folding down the leg rest and using the front frame as a footrest, an ability not shared by the Fox since its leg rest extends telescopically rather than being hinged. The Vista V2 has a more or less equally long canopy, and while textile type varies from year to year, the feel of Uppababy's textiles tends to be more minimalistic, a little less soft possibly, but sleeker, less busy feeling in terms of its harness and padded bits. As far as parent comfort goes, the Vista V2 has a somewhat smaller range of handle height, from 100 to 107 centimeters, but the underslung shopping basket is larger and more accessible due to the way it protrudes off the rear frame. Looking at folding, the Vista V2 is also quite easy to fold, though the process does require 2 hands and the model locks closed with a flap, necessitating a little bending when unfolding. When it comes to the feeling of using the model, the Vista's chassis has a somewhat stiffer, more rigid, metallic feel, and the bounciness of its large suspension struts gives a more pronounced feeling of the model reacting to rougher ground underfoot. The Vista V2 also has a tandem configuration, while the Fox doesn't, though I'd like to note here that, while this can be a bonus, in my opinion, it's actually better not to factor this into your decision-making process if this is your first child, as a tandem mode seriously reduces performance with the Vista, and there are many other models that are significantly more comfortable to use for 2 children. And if this does feel like a sticking point, I've linked another video in the description that I'd recommend watching. In terms of longevity, while the gap between the Vista V2 and the Fox has been greatly reduced with the move to the Fox 5, the Vista V2's chassis, on the whole, is still built a bit sturdier, as it must be, of course, to potentially accommodate the weight of 2 children. Uppababy has also shown themselves to be quite good at providing spare parts and repair services, sometimes even years after the guarantee period is over, and previous versions of the Vista, sometimes as much as 10 years old, can still be seen out on the streets in good working order, which is a clear proof of the model's durability that is not generally shared by previous iterations of the Fox. All that being said, there are a couple of areas that need some regular maintenance in the form of cleaning and lubrication with the Vista V2 that are built a little more complicated internally than on the Fox, namely the wire-based brake system and the swivel locks on the front frame. Looking lastly at driving, despite the fact that the Vista V2's suspension struts are built a bit larger and more substantially than the suspension in the Fox's central bar, the fact that the Vista has smaller wheels, somewhat less shock-absorbing tires, and that the chassis is more rigid makes it a little less comfortable for harder bumpy ground, such as really rough cobblestones or uneven icy sidewalks, and the Vista V2 is also longer front to back than the Fox, which makes it a little heavier to steer with one hand. All that being said, the stronger build of the chassis does mean that the model is less likely to loosen as much as the Fox will a few years down the road from the effects of regularly driving over rougher terrain. So which of these models would I recommend getting then? This is a difficult question, since both strollers are aimed at the same sort of lifestyle and environment. In either case, these models are for people who tend to get around without a car, will be out for long hours daily, and thus need a larger, more terrain-capable stroller to serve as a base of operations. If this is you, then either of these could be a good choice, where the advantages of the Fox 5 are primarily its better terrain capability and, at least in my opinion, a somewhat more luxurious feel, while the chief advantages with the Vista are its bigger storage basket, its better and more proven durability, and the fact that it's significantly cheaper currently, and could thus be argued to provide better value for your money. In any case, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, we ask that you subscribe, as it helps us to continue making videos in the future. If you'd like to know more about either of these models, we have standalone reviews for both of them, and links have been added in the description. In addition, if you're currently shopping for a stroller, we have a buyer's guide on our Patreon page which lists a wide range of models that we recommend, with a lot of technical and lifestyle related information. You can find that by following the link in the description as well. Thank you.